need to work on that EQ because that will be a barrier for your success going forward. And that's because your talent can take you where your character can't keep you. And emotional intelligence is definitely part of that character. So what I'm going to teach you today is a cycle that I believe in, one that I am totally still learning and totally not a master of, but I'm really excited about. I do want to master it for my new department, for marriage, for Vector, and I wish I would have learned it earlier in my career because who knows what could have happened. Nothing is more important than that right there. So, all right, you guys get it. We'll skip all that. We'll go right to the first step. So here's the first step. Here's what I'd like you guys to do. I'd like you, on a pen and paper, a pad, any of that stuff right there, I'd like you to just start writing out a detailed list of things that make you frustrated in the business. Okay? If you have a significant other and you want to do this as a spousal thing, you can do that too. But specifically in the business, what are your trigger moments? What are your trigger moments? What are your trigger moments? What are those parts of the business where you just lose it? I lose it when? Think of your key staff, your 6K reps, your FSMs, your CSPs, your call team, those DMs in the room, your AMs, or even DVMs. Okay? What are some of the things you guys wrote down?
Lack of communication.
Lack of communication. Yeah, for sure. What else did we write down?
Reps who feel like they figured it all on conferences and yet they're not doing well.
Oh my gosh, that just makes me want to like, ugh. How many of you guys can relate to that? Reps that, paid money to the conference, they go and they're just, I see some of you staring at people in this room. Larry, kind of. Drives me nuts. All right, what else?
Being asked where I am.
Say it a little louder.
Being asked where I am.
Sorry, one more time.
Being asked where you are instead of like, are you on your way? Is like,
are you on your way? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Just gets you going, doesn't it? What else? Lack of work ethic. Lack of work ethic in every single area, right? When people tell you they're going to do something, and they're like, yeah, I got this, I'm totally going to do it. And then it's almost like you didn't talk to that person. It's almost like you didn't have that conversation with them. Now, in a new rep, it's very easy to, be directive, to communicate to them, to objection cycle them, right? It's like, here's what you got to do. But we still do that at 6K, and at 10K, and 30K, and some of you guys in this room still do it. If I was your DPM, I'd be like, you still do it, you still do it, you still do it, because we all have that human nature in us. Now, there probably is not going to be enough handouts, but please do your best to share and give them to people that do need them. What else did you guys write down? What other trigger moments do you guys have that tick you off?
When they deflect questions.
Oh, give me an example of that one. That one's a good one, right?
Like, what's the address of the hotel we're going to? Well, the name is Sheraton Hotel, so
and
if you want to look that
up. How many of you guys experienced anything like that, even in the process of getting here? Now it's a party, absolutely. You want of these? Or are we going to? Go ahead. You're going to suggest a...
Lateness.
Lateness, yeah, lateness drives me up the freaking wall. So here's one thing. If you get nothing else out of this message, I'm going to teach you a cycle here, but if you get nothing else out of this message, I want you to eliminate one word from your vocabulary. And the word I want you to eliminate for high emotional intelligently conversation is the word you. I no longer want you to come at people saying things like, you are late, or you are always late, or you do this, or you failed to do that, or you, or you, or you, or you, or you, or you. What we're going to do is we're going to learn to reframe it in a way where we make what's called I statements. I statements, which is why in many cases people call this the I cycle, because it's a tool to use for better words, better relationships, and better organization. And so, here is the full method. So, step one is the situation. Like we said, the trigger. When blank happens, all right, the trigger that totally sets you off. I wrote down it's okay to get mad, it's not okay to stay mad. So of all those, we're going to do a specific example. For all those lists that you wrote down before, what I want you to do is think of a specific person. And I want you to think of a specific situation, and that's going to be what we're going to drive to and what we're going to write out, we're going to role play. So pick of that list a specific person. No one will see this but you, by the way, so if you write their name, it won't be the end of the world. And a specific situation. And I want you to fill out here underneath the first part when blank happens. So for me, let's do an example. I'll use my wife, just because that's, the most
Dangerous.
well, that's a good point. What I'll do is something that should say to me, because there are a lot of things that I do that are super annoying. Super annoying. Let me pick one. Which one to pick? How about this? When I sing in the shower. Because I don't sing in the shower. I'm like the neighbors are going to call and tell me, people are dying in your house, we need to fix something. So what you'd write here, if I'm doing this exercise, and Kaylee, my wife, is talking to me, she would say, Mike, when you sing in the shower, that's step one. Are you guys tracking with me on how we're doing this? Okay, so have you all filled out your first thing?
Could I get a paper?
I have one last paper. Can we direct paper towards that way? Yes, ask and you shall receive. Fantastic. And as you write down your thing, here's what I want you to think about. Thank you so much. What I want you to think about is that good relationships, in many cases, are the union of two good forgivers. Meaning you forgiving others, and that person forgiving you. So, all right, you got your triggering situation, and now you're going to go down to step 2, your emotion. Notice it uses the word I, not the word you. It's an I feel statement. Okay? So here's the key when you talk about your feelings. Write this down. Key is one word. One word. That's it. There's no feeling that can't be described in one word. How are you? Mad. How are you? Sad. Frustrated. Annoyed. Indifferent. Okay? What we do is we tend to over-communicate, but we never actually say how it is we're actually feeling. So, especially guys are the master of this. It's like, how you doing? And, Kaylee asks me, she knows I'm upset at something. It's like, well, and I just verbally vomit all over her, and I talk in a circle about this or that. When really all I have to do is say, I'm annoyed. I wanted to watch Walking Dead tonight, okay? We didn't get the opportunity to do so. So, do not disguise those emotions. We don't need passive aggressive. We don't need manipulative. So, continuing this exercise, what I'd like you to do is, with the person and trigger situation that you chose, I would like you to discover the one word that you feel in that exact situation, and I would like you to write that word down. Do so now. So as a division manager, when the staff meeting starts and people aren't in their chairs ready to begin, I feel disrespected, I feel angry. What are some words that you guys wrote down?
Frustrated.
Frustrated. Guys always say frustrated. What else? Annoyed? I don't know. What was it? I got a good one back here. What'd you say? What was it?
No, we all did frustrated.
All did frustrated. How many of you had frustrated on there? Okay. A bunch of frustrated. What else did you have? Another word. Disrespected. What's another one?
Misunderstood.
Misunderstood.
Betrayed.
That's a good one. Betrayed. Betrayed. I want to be your role play partner, by the way. Wow, I love it. Anybody else?
Disappointed.
Disappointed. Yes, sir. All right, step 3, communicating your reasons. This is where you describe the cause and effect. See, most people don't realize that they have the power to cause you an emotional reaction. They don't realize they have that power. And when they realize it, and I wrote down, when they understand your why, it makes it really easy for them to adjust their behavior. Okay? I wrote down a tip for communicating here is to keep the reason short. So for instance, when the staff meeting starts and people aren't in their chairs ready to begin, I feel disrespected and I feel angry. Because I usually put 10 to 15 hours into a meeting and I know something crucial is going to get missed. notice in that diatribe there, which could have been said by any division manager in this region, notice there was no word specifically YOU. Okay? So go ahead and write in your reason as you're communicating with this person. Your reason. All right, we won't know the situation, but let's investigate some reasons. And I want to be introspective and critical of these, because if we're not communicating the right reason, they're going to miss the message. The reason is so important. You know how we teach our reps the objection cycle? We tell them, hey, when your customers say, when you put it that way, well, that's the moment of recognizing in a sales position, but the reason is where the moment of recognition occurs in effective, intelligent, emotional communication. So, who wants to volunteer? Who wants to volunteer a reason? You volunteer. Yes, sir. Give me a reason.
It shows disrespect to others and myself.
It shows disrespect to others and myself. Okay? So, can we work with you a little bit? Is that cool? All right. So, your emotion. Tell me about that.
Frustrated.
Frustrated. Okay? It shows disrespect. Do you guys hear judgment in that? Like you're being disrespectful? Give me just facts here. How could you reword that? I'm going to come back to it in a second. I want you to reword that to turn it in just into a non-judgmental situation, but just facts. Okay? Think about that. Massage it for a second. Now I'm not going to get anybody else to volunteer. It's like, whoa, I don't want to be so nice. Yes, go ahead.
I said, I actually have to do it, so from the beginning. So when you talk during meetings, I feel sad because anger and frustrated are really just covers for deeper emotions.
Okay.
And because Patty, and the other manager put a lot of time into their talks and nobody can the same.
Perfect. Okay. So because Patty and Drew put a lot of time into their talks, and I'll change the end just a little bit, it's really important we get that information. Here's why that's really, really good. Because it's all facts. And there's no opportunity for somebody to get defensive with facts. If I say, I put a lot of time and energy into this talk, no one can be like, liar, no you didn't. Okay? Nobody can get defensive over that fact. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay? Did you rework it yet or no? No? Alright. Alright, can we help you? Alright, perfect. So, what's the, is this a vector situation?
Yeah, just in general.
Alright, perfect, go ahead. What's the first one? Start with the very beginning. When you?
Oh, when, say you.
Right, good point. Just testing you, yeah, absolutely.
When lateness happens, I'm so frustrated, so it's back to the team myself.
Okay, perfect. And by the way, those are all very legitimate emotions for you to feel, so I'm not trivializing it. I'm not telling you to not feel disrespected, and I'm not telling you not to feel frustrated. I'm not telling you to not feel any of those things. Your emotions are yours. And by the way, if we take our emotions and we don't effectively communicate our emotions, okay, resentment starts to build up. Very, 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 very bad. Okay? Some people are so good at holding in that resentment towards people that they can stay married to someone for 20 years, and all of a sudden, boom, explosion. Okay? Why do 50% of couples get divorced? There's a lot of different reasons. You can go through finances and this and that and this and that, but how would that number be affected if people were a little bit better at communicating their emotions? Okay? So let's take that situation. All right? When lateness happens, I feel frustrated because, all right, help me here. Who has an example or an idea of how we can turn this into a really positive thing or a factual thing in step 3, giving a reason? I see a hand back here. Yes, sir.
Because it affects the team's atmosphere or their actions starting off the day.
Okay? When lateness happens, I feel frustrated because the team is counting on everybody being there to get the message so we can move forward in the direction we want to move forward. Okay, that's not bad. Bringing up the team. All right, not bad at all. Another example. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I feel frustrated because I'm trying to help the team really become the best versions of themselves. And when I have a leader come in late like you, it gives a bad example to everybody else. By the way, what do you guys think of that one? It's pretty good, right? Like, who's going to argue with that? Like, no, I'm not a leader. Like, no, I'm totally giving a good example by showing up 20 minutes late and wearing a tie around my head, not dressed properly. Okay? Pretty good. Very good. What's another example? Yes, sir.
Because Dan's time is very important, and 10 minutes that spent waiting could be used for some sort of better, could be used
More productive.
more efficiently.
More efficiently, or better, because I feel frustrated when lateness happens because the schedule got set off, and that 10-minute period could have been done more efficiently. What's so interesting is guys always think of, by the way, I think that's a very legit one, guys always think in terms of like efficiency, and like we got to, point A to point B, there's a lot of that builder energy, but gals think differently. It doesn't surprise me that you guys have these just great, not to stereotype men and women, but it doesn't surprise me that you have these great examples of here's another way to frame it. Yes, ma'am.
It shortens our time together so we get less done, and it also makes us late for our next appointments.
Okay, go down that road. I love how you use the word us. How many of you guys noticed that you use the word us? Very effective. So here's what I want you to think about. Under this one right here, all right, facts. You didn't write that down yet. And also, I want you to think about how can you frame it in a way for them. So here's another way of doing this. Hey, when lateness happens, I feel really frustrated because there's really good stuff at the beginning of the meeting, which I put 10 hours into, and it kills me to think that you wouldn't want to say you, but it kills me to think that this would be missed because I want you to hear everything and get everything from this meeting so you can be the best version of yourself. Okay, I think that's a pretty forgivable situation to use you, right? Okay, what we're doing is we're creating it as a reason why we're doing it almost for them. Yes, sir.
This reminds me of the message you gave about a year ago about the results of result conversation. I feel like this is a good place to bring that in as long as you can.
Great. Walk us through a little bit of that.
Okay, so when I call and get your voicemail, I feel annoyed because we agreed on the time last week to communicate. And when I can get a hold of you, I put you behind on my schedule, and that's going to allow me to give the team the best version of myself today.
Dude, how good was that? Give that one clap on 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. By the way, and for Dan for volunteering, give him one clap on 3. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you. Now, here's the next part. Those nails. It's like you're married with a happy family or something. It's ridiculous. It's so weird. By the way, don't you learn the hard way once you're married? It's like, yeah, I'm your guy. I got everything figured out.
I'm really good with people.
Yeah, very good people. Yeah. She realized I'm a digital manager. I'm like, yeah, you don't care. You don't care. I love it. All right, so step 4 is my vision. And Dan, I guarantee you are going to be absolutely exquisite at this one because you are a visionary guy. And this is where you paint the picture of what you'd like the future to be like in this particular situation. One of my favorite things, you can write this down, is that you teach people how to treat you. You teach people how to treat you. And so many times we get very passive, and we are very passive with people, and then we wonder why they take advantage of that. It's because we didn't teach them to treat me otherwise. Okay? Or we always wonder, why don't people open up, and why do my reps talk, and why do they have these conversations, and why are they open with me, and why are they honest with me? Why do they have their own little thing going on? And you taught them that you weren't okay to communicate to, because the last time they tried to come to you and communicate, you yelled at them, you bit their head off, you got all upset, something happened. You taught them that you can't be trusted. It's a very challenging situation. I'm on a website called Quora, and Quora is this amazing business website, and people ask questions. And Story's too long. The point is you teach people how to treat you. And so what I'd like you to do with your vision, really, if it had like this amazing bang for your buck, I'd tell the whole story, but it's not worth it. So in your vision, I want you to picture how good the future would be if the gap got closed between what is and what is wanted. Okay? And this is where you're letting people know that you are for them. You are in favor of them. You care about them. This is how you can have hard conversations, but they leave still feeling really good about it. So, for example, when the staff meeting starts and people are in their chairs ready to begin, I feel disrespected and angry because I usually put 10 to 15 hours into a staffer and I know something crucial is going to get missed. I'd like to behave like a Silver Cup team behaves, which is what I want to build with you and for you so you can experience the vector opportunity at its highest potential. This is a place when you visioneer where you're talking to them, so it's okay to use you. So take the scenario, take a second, and think about your highest vision of what could come out of this, and go ahead and your individual scenarios, write that on down. Ready? Go. Visioneering. Visioneering. Teaching people how to act, teaching people how to behave. All right, you don't have to go through the whole thing, but I'd like to hear somebody's vision for this particular circumstance that they're in. Who wants to volunteer one of their visions? Volunteer a vision. Mine?
Sure.
Go ahead.
We'll just go with one about the voicemail. I'd like to communicate every morning, so you don't, I'd like to communicate every morning daily, so you and I can build an incredible and intimate relationship towards your success.
Who's going to argue with that? That's awesome. Awesome. I love it. Anybody else? Yes.
Build a strong team with good habits, terrible, successful others.
Isn't it more fun to talk like that to people? Isn't it more fun to talk like that instead of hammer people? Isn't it more fun to talk like that as if you're communicating to the very, very best version of the person you're looking at versus treating them like a child or treating them like somebody who needs to be degraded in order to get the point across? Now, by the way, I understand that this is the ideal model of communication and that the ideal is not always practiced and perfect example practiced by imperfect people. So if you're sitting here and it's causing you to think about conversations you've had with an authority figure or somebody where the conversation has been totally less than ideal, where there's no I this or I that and here's how you can be awesome, but simply you just getting hammered, I've been there. We've all been there. Haven't we all been the subject of that conversation? The one who got yelled at for keeping the door open when it wasn't your fault at all, it was the elephant. Yes or yes? We've all been that. Now I'm going to ask you if you have somebody in mind that specifically does that to you or for you or regularly with you. The most important thing you can do for your emotional intelligence is to mentally forgive that person. Because if you have that resentment that you're holding on to, you become emotionally constipated. And the expression goes that hurt people hurt people. Okay? If I have a child that I raise, and I raise them, you are so stupid, you are so inconsequential, and I'm exaggerating for effect and also using Tim Garza, who A, can beat my ass, and B, is also capable of handling this. You're never good enough, why can't you be more like your sister? Okay, if that is what I'm giving that person emotionally, what do you think that person is going to grow up like and be like? By the way, that's talking about children, but guys, there's going to be a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds walking into your world this summer, whatever that world is, your AM world, your DM world, some of you guys, future DVMs. It is our responsibility to not see people as they are, but to see them how they could be, with eyes of opportunity, seeing the tree inside the sea. Goethe, famous French poet, if I see people as they are, I make them worse, but if I see people as they could be, I make them capable of becoming all they're capable of becoming. That is something we can never lose in our business. We can never lose that. No matter how many reps tell us they're going to do something and don't do it, no matter how many times people show up late, no matter how many times somebody mistreats you or does this or does that, we must never lose the opportunity, the ability to see people for what they could be. Step 5, you make a simple request. And this is where you describe the first step to make that vision come true. Keys for this one, make it really simple, make it really actionable, and really, really clear. Really simple, really actionable, really, really clear. So, Mr. Matlack, you're doing such a good job here. What's a simple step after you tell him, I'd like to talk to you every morning so we can develop an awesome relationship and I can help you be a certified butt kicker? Your request is?
Will you answer your phone when I call, even if you're busy, and let me know when's a better or appropriate time to discuss this?
Okay, perfect. Will you commit to me? Love it. To always answering your phone when I call you at our scheduled time, even if it's not a good time, we can reschedule. Will you commit to always answering your phone? I love it. Simple commitment, actionable, repeatable. Awesome. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Will you please call me within 5 minutes of finishing your appointment?
Perfect. That is so simple, so actionable. Will you call me within 5 minutes of finishing your appointment? And if you've gone through this other packaging of it, now they know why. You know, one reason why people don't do stuff is because they don't understand what the value is or what the value, why should I do that? What's the benefit to me? Tell me what's in it for me. And that's why a simple section like this or a simple format like this definitely helps them. I love it. Okay? I wrote down, so will you commit on our next conference call? I know you're late to the staffer today, but be here on time with no exception. And that's what we want to do. Simple system. So here's what I'd like to do. Any comments, by the way? Comments, questions, thoughts on this, your reactions? Anything at all?
I love it. Good stuff.
Tim loves it. Good stuff. Anybody skeptical? Yes, sir. Question, comment?
Yeah. For how long did it take you to start really getting that into your own vocabulary, like your own rhythm? Because I know you said you started like a couple months ago, right?
Well, here's an example. I'm still learning. So sometimes the joke with my wife and I keep this on my desk where I work, and we had a little spat the other day about something I honestly don't even remember. And what I try to do is, knowing that I'm going to be very imperfect, I always try to be the first person to apologize. And my rules are, I only apologize when I mean it, but I want to apologize early and often because I want to be a great forgiver and a great apologizer. So she's sitting on the couch, and I just got off a conference call or something, and I actually walk over there with her sheet, and I have it in my hand, and I'm like, and I do it with her, and she starts laughing, and again, I don't even remember what it's about. So it's a situation where it's like this. Step 1 in my mind is to try to catch yourself, because you're still going to go like, oh, this is good stuff. You're still going to go out there, and the next person you talk to, you're going to hammer, and you're going to be hate themselves. It's human nature, and it's not your fault. This is what a great message Mike gave me. Everybody hates me, okay? The fact is, you're going to start saying it, and step 1 is you're going to, oh, wow, I actually use the word you a lot in my communication. I really hammer people a lot. That's step 1. Step 1 is awareness. Step 2 is minor correction. And then step 3, and minor correction might be simply saying, I feel, and actually, if everybody just left this room, I feel sad, I feel this, I feel that, I feel that. You'd be doing better than most of us are today, yes or yes?
Yes.
And then eventually step 3 is we don't get so caught up in the words. And by the way, if I were to do this workshop again, that's part of my failing here. I've made you, by having you write out an example, I've made you think that the important thing is the words. You guys realize it's not the words? You guys realize it's all about, like, if you don't get, what if I don't say the vision right? What if I don't do that? What if I'm not as good a wordsmith as Nick Matlack? None of us are as good a wordsmith as Nick Matlack. That's the case. The important thing is that we try and that we commit, which you guys have already done just by being in this room today, saying, you know what, I want to be a better emotional communicator. And I would say, hold on to this, because this summer, you're going to have a time to have a hard conversation. And I find exactly what you said, that when I'm emotional, intelligence is low. And I have said some things that are dumb and some things that I can't take back to people in this business because I reacted emotionally. Okay? One of my goals, and I've hit it so far, is to never tell Kaylee, my wife, anything that she'll remember for the rest of her life. It's like, you are just like your mother! It's like, oops.
Wow.
Okay, yeah.
Ring that bell.
Yeah. By the way, that's take off the rave. You guys are all going to like reach out to her on Facebook, like, your husband's such a jerk. All right, we have an awesome relationship. It's amazing. Don't read into this farther as anything else than what this is an example. But my point here is, save this sheet. Save this sheet for when you need to have that really challenging conversation, because then it's helpful to actually plan it out a little bit so it goes more intelligently than if you just expound it. Any other final comments, questions, concerns, or thoughts? Yes, sir.
We all have our own patterns of just conflict resolution and sort of dealing with things. Do you have any suggestions for how to maybe go through these steps with someone if they're kind of like, you get your emotions in check, but maybe they're not? I'm the most emotional person in the world, but you're trying to bring this to someone because you think it's important, but whether they're defensive or hurt or angry.
So I just got promoted to digital manager, and one thing, I don't have a staff yet. I have a staff of one right now, Stephanie Weiser, but where we're going to go with this thing is I'm going to have a very big staff very, very soon, interns, all sorts of, I'm really fired up about what we're building. First thing I did was I wrote out conflict resolution policies, because I want people to come to me and fight with me, but I want them to fight with me on a respectful way and in my terms. Because guys, in a healthy organization, you're going to have conflict, yes or yes?
Yeah.
So I'll end with this. So the third elephant kicks down the door. And the DM says, hey guys, gather around. When we have terrible things go wrong, like an elephant rooting and crapping all over the office, I feel totally and utterly defeated. It's the right words don't matter. Because there's already a ton of other crap going wrong, okay? You've got people all over the region. Matt Lack has 140 in training. Keena's at $950,000 for the week. And meanwhile, my landlord is yelling at us, and I barely have money to pay the receptionist as it is. And now there's this friggin' elephant. But I'd like us to use this as a reason why we come together as a team, lock arms, and not quit. I'd like us to laugh at the end of the summer, and instead of comparing our summer to other people's summers, let's use this as a lesson for our reps and make a difference in their lives. Receptionist, will you call the door repairman? Assistant manager, will you drive to Drew's office and get more order forms? Maybe some rope, because Elephant did some nasty stuff with that too. Hey, why don't you get everybody to the phone jam tonight, announce a contest, you know, best janitor costume wins a peeler, everybody bring mops and stuff. What's the result? What's the result of that office? I wrote down success. I love sitting at SLC and listening to people like Kathy Vasquez, because it always seems like there's just this crap going wrong in her office, and it's almost like a badge of honor for her, and then she sells like $2 billion. She has an exceptionally high EQ, which probably isn't something like, maybe she was born with it, okay, maybe she's worked on it. Unfortunately, many of us are taught that our emotions are evil. So my question that I'll leave you with is this: how are you going to change your communication to build deeper, more authentic relationships with the people around you who matter most? Thank you. Let's have a great, great conference.